Hey everybody, Danny Ward here. Thanks for joining us. This week we're talking irons. How do you strike your irons pure? How do you stop striking the ground behind the golf ball? How do you get more distance from your irons so that you're finding that if you're finding that your irons are bunched up, you're hitting them, some of them very similar distances, how do you spread them? How do you hit them a bit further? These were common questions this week from many of my students. And the answer to those questions I'm going to share with you exactly in this week's training, because it really helped them, and I'm sure it will help you too. Before I get into the video though, look, if you're new to the channel, this is one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing. Press that little bell button and next to subscribe button, you get notified every time I release a video just like this one. Plus, if you enjoy the training, down in the description box below there's a free practice plan, so you don't have to remember a thing, just download it, take it off to the driving range and go and work on it. So, striking your irons. Well, let's start with it. Ultimately, what are you supposed to do at the moment of impact to strike your irons? And then what we'll do is we'll give you a 3-step process on about how you go about achieving that. So, how do you strike your irons? Well, stage number 1, ultimate, the impact position. What do you see, or I see with most of my clients who start to strike their irons poorly, they generally end up in positions that are back here, flicky motion. So you're seeing a lot of flicky wrists, you know, very weak positions. When you get in this weak position here, that's going to lose power. The other thing is in this flick position here, you're moving the center of the face away from the ball and you're bringing the leading edge. That's what gets the ball topping along the ground. We've got to get the face on the golf ball so that if the face hits the ball, the face has loft. It's the loft that gets the ball airborne. It's not you trying to help it up in the air. So we've got to get that impact position. So that impact position is we put the loft on the ball. So that's why the handle is forward. So that's the impact position here. Then naturally, as we're coming forward here, the hips will be open and there'll be a lot of weight on the left side, all kind of complicated stuff that we're going to make simple in a second. So bear with me. So weights on your lead foot here, hands forward, and there's a pressure putting on the back of that golf ball there. From this angle, it's going to look something like this. What you're doing is you put your weight on your lead foot here, your hips are open here, you're putting a pressure on that ball, and the pressure's going on with your trail side here. Notice this, I'm not putting pressure this way, that would be a real problem. What I'm doing is, look at my right elbow here, my trail elbow. I'm pushing it inwards here, my right shoulder's back a little bit here, and I'm pushing this way. This is important. Now, that's impact. That's way too much to think about, isn't it? So how do we go about achieving that? Well, here is step number 1. We want to try to get now into this strong impact position here with the handle leading. We're putting a pressure on the back of that golf ball. The very first thing you need to have, you need to see shots in shapes, i.e. curves, not straight. Did I say that right? You're not trying to hit a straight shot? Never try and hit a straight shot. Professionals do not try and hit straight shots. They're always working in curves. You're hitting a round ball that is almost so difficult to hit straight. So the best players in the world, you'll see it on TV, they're always, if you see the shot tracers, you're always seeing a curve to this ball. This is important because when we're coming into the shot here, if you see the ball straight, this is what I'm seeing too much with players. They end up becoming gigantic pendulums. So they're often like this. When they're swinging, they're going straight back and they're going straight through. When you do this, watch this. When you're trying to hit a ball straight, just visually, the effect that has on the body is it tends to get the body going backwards, then tends to, because your body's going backwards, your hands then start to flick. It's just confusing for the body. Watch the difference here, however. If you work in curves, I want you to imagine something. What things work in curves? Well, tennis, throwing a ball, Frisbee, discus, and we're going to come to them in a second. But when you work in curves, look at the difference now, watch this. When I work in curves, my body stays more central. As I work back around now, look how easy it is for the handle to stay ahead at impact and go through it. I'm visualizing curves. Now, if I visualize a curve that's curving right to left now, look at the difference in my body. I'm creating an arc. The club's being brought around from behind me here. I'm able comfortably to keep this angle going through. Let's have a look at that in action, right? So I'm seeing the ball always in curves. This helps me create natural rotation. If I try and see the ball straight, that's confusing sometimes for the brain, and it gets people almost guiding it, pushing it forward. This causes loads of problems, and they often become human pendulums, yeah? And that really affects your strike. So I want you to stage one in this process, see the ball in curves. So I'm seeing the ball slightly right to left. I'm picturing this motion, just working around, just like I would do if I was playing tennis, kicking a soccer ball. I'm seeing it in curves, yeah? Creates natural motions in the body. Let's have a look at this. Lovely, so that's simple. So in order for the body to help you in this, give it really good information. So start to see golf played in curves, not straight lines, all right? Now, yes, it might only be a gentle curve, but it's still a curve, all right? Now, so how can you encourage this? How do we, what drill, simple exercise can you do to encourage this natural curve whilst at the same time helping you maintain the strong impact position? Right, I want you to imagine now if we were throwing a Frisbee, what would that look like? Would you throw a Frisbee like this? No. Would you throw it with a flick like this? No. Look at the angle of my wrist here, naturally. So I want you to do this. If you haven't got a Frisbee at home, doesn't matter, just literally stand up now, just imagine this. Just imagine tossing a Frisbee. Look at the shape it creates in the body. Look at the angles it creates in the wrist. And it will teach you how naturally to release those angles, because they have to be released at some stage. Watch this. There's my Frisbee, and then away I go. Simple action here, really helps you to get rotation, then a rotation on the way through. Same now, imagine this, with your trail hand, discus, same principle. From here, look, we're creating shape, and we're releasing that shape. Notice this in the body, watch this down here. Creating the shape, backwards and forwards. The great thing with discus and or Frisbee, whichever you prefer, it just, if you're right-handed playing golf right-handed, no problem. Discus might work. If you're playing right-handed but you're left-handed, well, Frisbee might be a real good image for you here. Literally, imagine that and then from here, just imagine you've got your Frisbee in your hands and you are tossing it around. You don't toss it straight. These are what causes a lot of problems with striking the ground behind the golf ball and affecting that compression. So let's have a look at this in action. So I've got my Frisbee. I'm going to throw that Frisbee back around and then through. Like that. And it's as simple as that. Now, that will naturally help you create shapes in your body. It will help you stay centered. You won't be a gigantic pendulum, and therefore you won't be doing stuff like this. Now, the third and final thing is equally as important. Let's have a look. So the third and final thing is, we've said, look, we want to get this strong impact position here. We said, look, how do you get it? Well, you come from around the body on an arc here. So the hand path is coming from behind, it's coming around, back in. Look at this. It helps everything stay centered, doesn't it? You can only create arcs in the swing if you see arcs in the golf ball. Very hard to do that. If you're seeing a ball dead straight, it trains the body to act almost like a pendulum style action, where your head goes behind the golf ball, you start flicking it, hitting the ground behind, etc. So the third and final thing is, I see with all top players, but very few amateurs, top players start their downswing before they finished their backswing. What do I mean by that is, well, watch this. When they get to about here, about 3/4 of the way, their arms still keep going, but as they're doing this, they're starting to already get onto their lead side. They're trying to almost recenter. Way too technical to think about, so we're going to give you a simple solution in a second. But when you get here, we're getting centered. When now we're over the golf ball, look at we've got a bigger chance to hit more powerfully, but one to get those handle ahead and then through. You do this naturally, by the way, if you were to throw a ball. Watch this. If I throw a ball, my foot goes while I'm drawing my arm back. So I'm starting my downswing before I've even finished this motion, because what this provides the platform, look, platform here to throw from. So you do it when we're throwing a Frisbee. Watch, we step, that provides the platform to throw from. So how do you do this? It's way too complicated. Because you can do it, we need to do something bit crazy. Now, if you didn't miss my video last week, I'll put it in the top right corner. I gave Liam Harrison from Golf Vlogs UK a golf lesson. Worked an absolute treat. He thought I was crazy with this exercise, but what I didn't share last week, exactly how to then scale it down. So the exercise is the Happy Gilmore exercise, where all you do is this. If I was to walk up and hit this shot, notice this, I'm stepping whilst going back. I'm getting it's natural to do this because I need to use this platform to hit from. This is what's going to create this lag and strike. So that what you do first in this process is you start big picture. You literally have some fun, mess about, do some Happy Gilmore. So let's have a go. Let's watch this. I'm going to step here. And I'm going to go. Happy with that. Strike it. Now I struck it, but if I didn't, it doesn't matter. If you top it, you miss it, doesn't matter. Just enjoy hitting some golf balls like this, and what you'll do is you'll see on camera how slow I was and how naturally I start that downswing and away we go. What Liam turned this into when he took it and how he took it to the golf course is he knew he can't think of all that stuff. So what he did was he then had 2 or 3 of these exercises just before he goes. He's walk and away he goes. So then he just go to the golf ball, get himself set and hit away. Now, we can't rationalize that. We can't put all those complicated movements into words, but we can learn to feel it in our own way. So do some reckless ones to start with. Just have some fun. See the ball in curves. Right, so in summary, what have we done? 3 major things. Look, to get a great ball strike, we now know, look, you've got to have your handle ahead. You probably knew this anyway. You've got to have your handle ahead. We've got to get the lead side open to the target. You probably already knew that. But to do that, you've got to help the body. You've got to help the body. See the ball in the flight in curves. You're hitting a round ball. It's very hard to hit it dead straight. So see the ball in curves, stage number 1. It's a lot easier then for the body to go, oh, I can do that. That's curves. It will work much more like this, okay? It won't work as a gigantic pendulum and get people pushing it straight. That causes a lot of the fat shots, the loss of power because our body's going this way. Once you see it in curves, then we want to obviously educate ourselves to feel the handle ahead and putting compression on that golf ball. What do we say? Imagine a Frisbee, just do some Frisbee actions here. Look at how naturally my lead wrist will be ahead and I'm using this lead foot, fire. And just feel that motion. You don't have to even have a Frisbee. If you want to do it with your backhand, use a discus. Same thing, you're creating curves, you're using the ground, you're using all the right muscles. You can't maybe put words to them, it's not important, it's all about feelings. Then, once you've done that, we then say, look, you've got to take it to a golf course, and the third and final thing was making sure you start the downswing before you finish the backswing. Again, too complicated for people to think about, but doing some exercises like the Happy Gilmore here, where you're literally just walking up and hitting a few, ignoring how bad it is or how good it is, do it on a range, then do what Liam does. He doesn't walk and hit the ball on a golf course, but he does have a few practice swings just to feel it, gets himself set, sees his curve, and away he goes. So I really hope this training really helps. If it does, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe come and join the community by pressing that subscribe button and the bell. It's completely free. Remember, you have a practice plan down below, which you can download completely for free. Summary of this lesson, take to the driving range. And of course, look, if your friends could do with a little bit of help with ball striking with their irons, don't forget to share it. But have a great golfing week, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday.